Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in this session we will see what is SQL. We will see the definition part. Alright, so let's start. So SQL stands for the Structured Query Language. So here I am picking the word language. Generally, why do we use particular language? For communication, right? Like what language I am using here is English or Hindi or anything. So if I want to communicate with you, what I will need? A common language that both people can understand. So suppose here we have two users, like user 1 and user 2. So if user 1 and user 2 want to communicate, then they will need a common language, right? So in a similar way, if we talk about the system, then in system there are users at one side and a database at the another side, right? So if user want to communicate with the database, then here also user will use the language. But what language? It is none other than the SQL, Structured Query Language. Now next question is, why structured? So structured means which has fixed data model. Structured data model means whenever we store the data, we use the tables or the relations. That is why we also call this system as a Relational Database Management System, RDBMS, because we always store the data in the form of tables or the relation. So we are going to ask the question to the database which has a fixed structure, that is a table. That is why it is called as a structured query language. Alright, now query. What is the query? See, query is nothing but the question which we are going to ask to the database, and it could be anything like fetching the data, updating the data, or deleting the data, anything. So whenever we have to fire any query, retrieve the data from the database, then we use the SQL. It is also called as the SQL, Simple English Query Language. Why? Because most of the keywords that we are using, like select, insert, update, alter, all are from the English language. That is why it is also called as the SQL. So don't be confused. Some people call it as a SQL, some people call it as a SQL. So don't get confused, both are the same. Now come to the definition part. So the definition would be like a language through which we query the database in a structured way so that the data can understand is called as the SQL, right? So we communicate with the database with the help of SQL, and in return the database would give the result in the form of data. Alright, so SQL is used to communicate with the databases, and databases like MySQL, Oracle, MS SQL Server, DB2, etc. Alright, and it was developed at IBM by Donald D. Chamberlain and Raymond F. Boyce in the early 1970s. Alright, so this is all about the SQL and the definition of SQL. So thanks for watching the video. We'll meet in the next session.